I'm Joshua Dudley, and I am the writer, director, and executive producer of Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter, and I also play a ghost version of myself in Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter. The first version of Stab 7 that we tried to put together was, I would say, more in the vein of Scream 4. It was about the Shannon character coming home and returning to her hometown to kind of uncover and protect people from a new string of murders that's happening.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Maheu. I play Shannon Nightingale in Stab 7, Knife of the Hunter. Stab 7 is a little bit different from Stab 6 because now I kind of got my balls back. I am a therapist now, and I'm doing very well. And I hear about the murders that are going on in Manchester because somebody's trying to recreate Stab 4 and trying to kill Sarah Campbell. So I'm here to kick some fucking ass. Let's get real here. Like, now I have dealt with everything. I have got off my medication. I've dealt with my demons, and now I am ready to save the new ones.
There's a new Sarah Campbell, and that was fun for us to introduce because the fans loved the Sarah Campbell character, and we did bring back Veronica in Stab 5 that takes over the Sarah Campbell character, but her movie never got finished, so you never really get to see Sarah Campbell. So we introduced a new Sarah Campbell, and the basic idea is that Rachel and Ghost Josh are trying to write the next Stab movie by creating a copycat killer that's trying to kill off essentially the characters from Stab 4 instead of the actors, because by this time, most of the actors are dead or anyone involved in the Manchester massacres.
Hi, I'm Rachel Alexandria Arnold, and I play Rachel Alexandria Arnold in Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter. I also was assistant director and executive producer. So in Stab 7, Rachel's character is even stronger than in Stab 6. So in Stab 6, she's kind of finding herself. She knows that she wants to take over and you know, where Josh left off. But in Stab 7, I think she realizes she doesn't just want to take over, she wants to make Stab her own, you know, really her own project and put her own ideas and thoughts into it. So in this movie, you really don't see Josh a lot. Josh is played by essentially himself, but as a ghost. And so he kind of acts as that little devil or angel on my shoulder, but other than that, it's basically my series to run with. And so I decide that I want to go back to our roots and pay homage to Stab 4 and reboot the Sarah Campbell idea. So this is the first time that we actually see us actively recruiting killers. It's kind of the next step up from devious to almost evil for Rachel, because in Stab 6, she's kind of letting chaos happen, so she's encouraging it, but she's not really creating havoc. And in Stab 7, she absolutely, you know, has decided that she's controlling this narrative. So she's the one recruiting killers to do her dirty work, basically. It's a really interesting thing to play. Again, not considering myself an actress, it's weird to see all the evolutions of my character and even myself, you know, personally throughout this.
I don't know. I'm still to this day not super enthused about that script. I don't think it brought the level of reality up from Stab 6, you know? Like, I actually think it took it down a peg and like kind of grounded it instead of making it explode like a finale should have. And so there is, sad to say, a part of me that is happy that we weren't able to film it because people kept quitting. In Knife of the Hunter, my character is actually a ghost, and he's working with Rachel the whole time to kind of plot the next movie and try to encourage her. And there really are some like ghost effects, like he appears in like a puff of smoke and he's kind of translucent sometimes and stuff, and that stuff was fun to film because it was just a little bit more challenging. So that was probably one of my favorite parts of Knife of the Hunter, was the kind of supernatural idea behind it too, because that's not something we play with a lot. Like, we've had fortune tellers and stuff like that, but we don't normally do ghosts or anything like that in the Stab movies. So it was a little over the top, and I thought the fans would think it was a little over the top too. But it all gets explained at the end, which unfortunately we didn't get to film. But at the end you would have learned that my character was still alive, and he had faked his death, and he was actually using a hologram to get the ghost look and have all the special effects of being a ghost. And that's how he got away with everything. But sadly, like I said, we didn't get to film the ending of that, so you didn't ever get to see the big reveal that I'm alive, and there was a good explanation. I wasn't actually a ghost, I was a hologram, and I was controlling everything from a computer. That's all.
Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter was kind of the decline of projects. It's the first time that a project wasn't completed that we did. And we took a lot of flack for it, but as much flack as we took for it, it really kind of broke our own hearts. We had been working so hard on these movies, and so to have one be so damaged that it's, you know, irreparable was really heartbreaking. Unfortunately, in Stab 7, we had a main actress, Stephanie, quit. It was heartbreaking that she quit because unlike, you know, some of the other characters where you can just replace them, Stab 6 really created Steph's character. You know, Steph playing the Shannon character. The fans fell in love with her, rightfully so. She's wonderfully talented. And not only was the part so large, but like that whole, you can't come back from that. So we had to shut down production, and I remember how upset we were. I was, you know, kind of numb from everything because we put so much effort into it.
Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter was plagued with problems from the start. We had a great cast. I was really excited to work with a lot of them, and many of the problems involved actually weren't cast related, so that's nice. A few times we did have missing actors and stuff like that, but there were so many production problems with Stab 7, it was insane. We set it so that we were filming in fall. That way we wouldn't be sweating our asses off like we were in Stab 6 or freezing our asses off like we were in Stab 5. It was filmed set around Halloween time, you know, which we had never done either, and that was exciting for us to have a Stab film that was themed around Halloween. But then we forgot that fall nights are also really cold too. Like really, 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 really cold because we live in New England. Everything basically we films in New Hampshire. So it is cold here fall through winter. And spring, and then super hot in the summer. Like, it sucks a little bit. Production began pretty smoothly until we couldn't get Heidi to come back to play Kylie. And the opening, which we had already started filming, and we had filmed up to basically almost a death scene. Like, a girl gets stabbed like twice, I think you see in the final cut of the movie that we ended up releasing. But the second night of filming, the opening couldn't happen because we couldn't get Heidi back to play Kylie, and that was a huge issue. And like I said, we loved working with Heidi, and she was fun, but she's also a diva, and she was in Stab 6 working with Heidi. She was the only actress that didn't really contribute to the teamwork, I would say. She was very about learning her own lines and being in her own space, and you know, that's something we respected, but like, the entire cast would be helping clean up or set up or something, and she wouldn't participate. So that was rough. But you know, we being real here. We real. Yeah, so in Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter, we couldn't get Heidi to come back to play Kylie, and we were in the middle of filming the opening, and then we realized we had to do a rewrite. And there was just no saving it. Basically, from that point, we decided to move on and film other scenes, so we continued with the other actors and figured that we would go back to the opening, because the girl that was playing the girl in the opening scene, Alicia Winslow was her name. In real life, she played Alana in the movie, and Michael Benoit, who played her boyfriend. They were both willing to come back and finish filming the opening, so we moved on to other things and started filming as much of the other production stuff as we could.
The first scene that I'm filming is with my assistant Valerie. I'm coming home to Manchester, and we're coming into the house, and I'm giving her pretty much the lowdown on everything. And something about our chemistry as actors was a little off. So I don't know. It wasn't as fluid as Stab 6 was. It took a little to get into it, so it was a little rough filming at first, and then it started picking up once we did our fights, like the fight sequence, which that was really fun. We bounced from room to room and did some fun stuff with the door. Remember the door, we're trying to get the lighting right. Everything's about lighting and timing of the day. Sometimes you're waiting a little bit to get the right shot in so you can get the best lighting for the shot, you know what I mean?
I'm Lindsey Klossner. I played Mackenzie in Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter. She was a really good friend of Sarah Campbell. She was like her best friend. She was a fierce friend. And I think that I definitely identify with the fact that she's a very fierce friend and she stands up for her friend. She brings to light how fucked up it is that Sarah's family has been murdered. Like, hey guys, like, I get it, you want to party, so much fun, but we're missing something here, and maybe we need to back it up a little bit. And I really like that part of the character. The way that Josh kind of explained it to me was like, she's the bitchy best friend. I'm like, okay, like, all right, let's do that. And like, needless that I know that I would be cast in like quite a couple more bitchy roles after this. I don't know. Okay. Maybe I'm a bitch. A little. Everyone's got a bitchy side. Come on. More similarities. I mean, my fucking hair is very similar to Mackenzie's right now. I was laughing because when I had to do this interview, I was like, holy shit, I look really similar to my character Mackenzie right now. The only thing is, Mackenzie, girl, do not cut your own bangs. Like, I did not know how to cut hair then. I'm a barber now, so I understand, like, and I cut these ones. They're still, like, still need to get them out of my eyes because they're, like, stabbing me on the sides. But I at least know how to cut hair now, and all of this hair now is mine, where Mackenzie's, she had hair that was like here, and then the rest were like shoddy extensions that I did. The way that she goes about trying to console Sarah, I don't agree with. I think she does it in a really shoddy way. Like, I mean, and my acting is really shoddy in this movie. Not that it's any better anywhere else, but I think this is my first production. I was 21 years old. I hadn't done much acting since like high school. I've always been in like musicals. Growing up, my entire acting career was musicals. And I did some commercials when I was younger, or like auditioned for some commercials. I did a lot of singing and more theatrical work. But it was like, this was my first horror film to work on, so it was just a lot of fun to have that diversity. And also just hang out with my friends, like, why not? Yeah, hell yeah, I want to do that. The way Mackenzie goes about consoling Sarah, she asks Sarah if she wants her to read her bedtime story. Like, do you want me to read you a bedtime story like our parents used to do? And like, Sarah has the best reaction to this of being like, no, I think that'd be creepy. Yeah, that would be creepy. How about instead of that, you go grab me a bottle of tequila because my family just got slaughtered. Like, that's the only thing that's gonna like calm down the nerves at this moment. So Mackenzie definitely needs like a little lesson in like friend consoling. And also her bringing up the fact that her life is too similar to like an actual horror movie. She probably shouldn't have done that, but you know, that's between me and Mackenzie. It is really fun. It's so much fun. I had the pleasure of doing it with a lot of my friends that I already knew, especially Stab 7 Night of the Hunter. I worked with a lot of the people in that production. We all worked at the same restaurant. It's actually how I met Josh. I really love the Scream movies, so I became really excited when I found out that Josh does a series very derived from that. When I got the opportunity, I just jumped at it, and it was so worth it, honestly. I mean, I've met even more friends. I've met so many great people, so many passionate people. It was always fun. I've been in 5. This was my first one was Stab 7 Night of the Hunter, where I played Mackenzie. That was my first ever Stab production. And then from then on out, I did 3 shorts and then also the reboot of Stab 7. Unfortunately, both the Stab 7s, they just didn't work out, and their productions just, you know, they got shut down, and that's really sad because they were really great films and they deserved their shot. And They could have been so amazing.
At this time, Rachel had actually moved to a different state. So I was back to kind of filming everything on my own that was filmed around here. And we did travel to film the Campbell opening scene because Rachel's mom is in it and playing the Campbell mother. And we filmed at Rachel's house in Pennsylvania at the time. So some of the cast and I took a road trip to film that scene. But the majority of it was filmed here in New Hampshire. So I didn't have Rachel by my side, and that I think was a big struggle for me too, because I didn't have that extra pair of hands and eyes and extra insight that I would normally have and that I'd grown accustomed to, you know. So Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter was hard right from the beginning just because Rachel wasn't here. So Rachel and I, though, we had a great time filming, and all of our scenes, I believe we filmed in one day. Like, we just knocked it out from morning till night, everything that we had to do back to back, put it in order of when it had to be filmed because of daylight, and then just knocked it all out in one day. So our parts in Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter were actually really easy to film. It was the rest of production that was hard.
I was living in Pennsylvania at the time and literally drove to New Hampshire to film all of my scenes in one day. And, you know, not only did I go up there, but Josh and Miriam and Layla, you know, their characters came down to film. My mom was in it. They drove to Pennsylvania to film, you know, that scene, and they didn't even stay the night. They literally drove 5 hours to do scenes and then drive 5 hours back. So all of this hard work had been put into it, and to get halfway through it and have it end was awful. So it was disheartening. We decided we were going to try again. Fortunately, that didn't work out either. It feels like a never-ending lane of life happening and things not getting finished now. Hopefully that's not the case with the Stab reboot, but that is, Stab 7 really started kind of the downward fall of, you know, our Stab Movies productions.
So the Halloween party, that was a lot because everyone but me, because I wasn't drinking, everyone was drinking and a lot of them were getting hammered, and just like a lot of craziness going on trying to keep people together. There was like a party we had to decorate for. A lot of people didn't show up, and then I had to be like an extra. I stayed really late. I was getting frustrated on this set because I felt like not everyone was taking it as serious as I did. And I mean, I had driven like maybe like an hour or something to this location, and I just was kind of getting aggravated. Plus I was having like trouble with my car. We did have another location to shoot at, which was over 2 hours away, and it had to get canceled. Someone didn't wake up. I don't really remember, but I was pretty pissed about that and was like, I'm good. My car soon shit the bed after that, and I had to like walk to work. I live in Massachusetts, so it's a little different for other people that are living in New Hampshire with Josh. It was disappointing that it didn't work out because we had done so much work already together, and we had filmed stuff, and it didn't end up working out. So me and Josh actually didn't talk for a very long time after this. I think that he thought that I just like didn't care and gave up, and I think that his feelings were mostly hurt more than anything, just because he has this baby that he created and he wants everybody to, you know, give everything they got, and he sets schedules up and does all this stuff to make sure that we can all, you know, put on something that's of substance, you know, and it just didn't work out. It was a lot of younger kids, and they just, you know, they were just doing this for fun, not for serious. They didn't see somebody's dream behind the lines. So, you know, and I had just, it wasn't just this production. I had been a part of other productions with UMass Lowell, and I was dealing with the same thing. And I would go and I would wait, and I'd wait for like an hour, and then they'd be like, oh, well, I'm not gonna make it. And I said, well, that's not gonna work for me. So I started to try to get serious with my acting and really try to be professional. So anyone that wasn't professional in a cast mentality. I wasn't wasting my time. It really wasn't Josh's fault. It really had to do with what I was dealing with in my own life, and then, you know, what I was dealing with on sets and cancellations. So even though me and Josh went our separate ways, we ended up, you know, figuring things out, and we decided to have a cameo so I could, you know, say goodbye to everybody and have an ending scene. And that's where the other Stab 7 came in, but unfortunately that one didn't make it either. What's with number 7 anyways? It's supposed to be lucky.
The part of Hadley that was eventually played by Jalisa Turobene, I love saying her last name, was originally played by a different girl who we thought was going to be fun because she was really pretty and she looked like a supermodel, so we thought it'd be fun if she was playing crazy at the end like Kara did in Stab 6, and because this character turns out to be one of the killers. And this girl, who will remain nameless, that was originally cast, showed up. We don't even know what she was on. She was drunk, she was high, she was on everything, and we're trying to film this scene outside and she's literally falling over like multiple times while the camera was on her. Even if she was standing still, she would just straight drop to the ground. And that was our first like, we're gonna have to replace this character and refilm this now too. So now we're missing Heidi from production, and now we have to replace this actress from production too. And this is starting to almost cost us other actors who don't want to have to come back and refilm scenes that they've already filmed. So that was a really big issue, but replacing that actress with Jalisa was great because Jalisa was cool, and we always tried to add a level of diversity as our movies go on. And Jalisa kind of fit that lesbian stereotype really well, so it was cool to have her in production. And she was not an actress at all, and we just finagled it that we could get her to do this because it was such a cool part. And I'm sad we didn't get to film the ending with them actually, because I think she actually probably would have surprised us and really shined in the end when she got to play a little bit crazy. What we did film with Stab 7 came out pretty cool. We finally upgraded our camera and our costume. So I made a whole new Ghostface costume out of new fabric, and to me it came out gorgeous. And it was basically a one-size-fits-all costume, which was not like our last costume. Our last costume was a little more constricting. This costume was huge, and there was a couple of reasons for that. Like I said, I wanted it to fit multiple people, and I wanted me to always look bigger when I was in it. In the first couple of movies, I would have to like pad myself under the costume by wearing like a puffy winter coat. So in this movie, I made the robe really, really big, so that it gave me a lot of extra space and you couldn't tell who was underneath it. And the robe itself was so heavy that it just like, it takes up so much room and it hangs open. And it's actually, this fabric that's behind me is actually what the robe is made out of. On camera, you can't really tell that it's kind of fuzzy looking, but it's a really heavy material. So the new version of the costume not only came out better because somehow I was able to sew it better, but the fabric just reads so well on screen that it's just absolutely beautiful. But like I said, it was really, really heavy to wear, like especially if you're not if you're a skinny little person like I am. It's quite a lot. The costume itself probably weighs about 20-25 pounds, just because it's such a heavy fabric. But so that got updated, and we got this camera that we're still filming with now. This interview is being filmed on the same camera that we filmed Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter and everything else with up until this point. We've never upgraded from it, even though we could, because it is still not anywhere near the best camera on the market, but it works for us and it puts out nice 1080p quality and stuff like that. But it's a Sony NEX F3, if anyone's wondering. But Stab 7 reaped a few of the benefits that it had a much higher production value and budget, like Stab 6. We actually spent a lot more money on Stab 5, 6, and 7 as they went on. Each movie got more expensive. Stab 4, we basically filmed for no money. Stab 5, we filmed for like a couple $100. Stab 6, we filmed for like $1,000. And then by the time we were getting Stab 7, we're hitting multiple thousands of dollars, because now we're buying new knives and replacement prop knives, and we redid the costume, we bought new cameras. The lighting got a big upgrade starting in Stab 6. It's funny too, because some of the lights that are even on me right now are still from Stab 6. Like, they're the same exact light bulbs. This is like 6 years later and these light bulbs still work. I don't know, it's kind of crazy to me to think about. So it was really, really sad that we weren't able to finish it, because everybody put a lot of work into it. And the people that did show up, you know, like, they showed up. Everybody brought their A game. They showed up. Like, everyone was really embodying the characters that they were playing, and it was a bunch of new players that we hadn't had before. We were introducing all these new actors into a family that kind of no longer existed. Like, Rachel wasn't there for a lot of it, and a lot of the former cast members that had been there for multiple movies weren't there, and it was really challenging. And honestly, maybe that's part of the downfall. Maybe part of the downfall is that, the family part of it kind of ended once we hit Knife of the Hunter, because it was just like there was nobody left. Everybody had died on screen more than once in most cases, and it wasn't really possible to just keep having people play twins and triplets and quadruplets. And then, like I said, the amount of people that wouldn't come back was hard. We actually had a hard time convincing Stephanie to come back again to play Shannon. She was really busy, and she wanted more of a challenge if she was going to come play Shannon again. So we wrote Shannon more as a mentor in this one, and she was in a better place. She wasn't in such a dark place. And I'm not sure that Stephanie liked that. When I was writing, I thought it would be cool to have Shannon's character basically mentoring the new Sarah Campbell, because she's basically grooming her replacement. I don't think Stephanie was done dealing with Shannon's past. So we worked a lot to kind of work together to bring more of Shannon's past into the history of what was going on with her now in that movie. And she went to a darker place, like she darkened her hair for the movie to look like a new version of Shannon. She wasn't a blonde Shannon anymore. She was now a brunette Shannon who was a well-known therapist and published author. She had a book about therapy out as well based on her experience, and she even had her own personal assistant that traveled with her, played by the fabulous Tajora Davis, who we love. And Tajora, I'm so sorry you ever only got to film that one scene that you were in. Stephanie, playing the lead character, was subject to a lot of this. A lot of times she would show up for filming along with a lot of other people, and then we couldn't film after she had just driven 2 hours to be here to play this part, and then we couldn't film because people were missing. So there are times, like you'll see like the Halloween party scene that you'll see, where we're missing hundreds of extras, and even certain characters are missing from the scene, but we still tried to film as much as we could because Stephanie was there, so we wanted to accommodate her driving these freaking 2 hours to be there, even though fucking people didn't fucking show up like they said they would. As much as it irritated me and everyone else involved in the production, it really got to Stephanie, to the point that the next time it happened, she was done. We were all driving out to set, to the location that we were using as Lindsey's character, Mackenzie's house. We're literally minutes away from getting to this place when the location calls and cancels on us and tells us that after considering it and after us already filming there once or twice, that they just couldn't handle having to be quiet while we were filming, and a whole long list of other bullshit of why we could no longer use this location. So Stephanie, this location was quite a ways for all of us, so it was even longer for Stephanie, and her hearing that we couldn't film while she was already halfway to a place that was like 4 hours away did not make her happy. So needless to say, she was done with production, and the agreement between us was that either we fix it absolutely right away, or it's just not happening anymore for her, and we couldn't fix it, so we had to shut down production. And a lot of people will hear that and think, oh, so it's Stephanie's fault that production was shut down. No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. She's not the reason it's shut down. It is a factor that our lead actress wasn't there, but so many other actors quitting and not showing up, and production setbacks like losing locations caused her to quit. So, it isn't her fault. It's a big, huge collection of why we have a hashtag Stab7 is cursed, because both versions of it is just plagued with problems, and people just commit to things and don't follow through, and it's awful. Like, look at the amount of people in this documentary right now. Every single Stab star or a person that has appeared in a Stab movie was offered the chance to come and do one of these interviews. And during the coronavirus outbreak, they were offered the chance to even film their own interviews from home. Look how many people are in this interview, in this documentary. Not many. That shows you the level of commitment. Yes, sure, some of them have moved far away and stuff like that, but like I said, they also have the options to film these at home. So we try not to call people out and point fingers at anyone ever for production being shut down. And sometimes it is one person's fault. And in the case of Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter, it is not one person's fault, it is a lot of people's fault. But in the case of people not coming back to do interviews and stuff for like this documentary, that's a case of them either no longer caring about the productions, or a case that I pissed them off by asking them to do so many projects all the time, or I literally pissed them off by yelling at them on set when something didn't go right, or offset when they quit productions and stuff like that. So there were just so many issues that just stacked up over the years that it's super intense.
I really wish I would have been able to do her death scene. And that's my biggest regret, probably, of Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter, was not being able to do my death scene completely. We did a little bit of it, but with like our location dropping out, which is unfortunate, but like I understand, like these are people that are just like lending us their house, and you know, they have expectations too, and we probably were there a little longer than they expected, and you know, it's unfortunate. But yeah, I've read, and I'm sure you guys have read, the script of my death scene, and it's pretty amazing. But it's so sad. I'm still like a little heartbroken over that. But you know what? One of the funnier moments of that death scene, like leading up, is this room is filled with smoke. It is filled with like fog, and then we have CGI fog and or smoke, and I'm like coughing a lung out, like trying to cool down this popcorn, and I'm coughing, and then my phone starts ringing, and I just go, hello? Like nothing. Like, girl, you were just like dying of smoke inhalation, and now you're like, cool, everything's fine. All right, no. The best part of filming this particular movie was that it was my first one, and I was so excited and so thrilled. Also, you know, I got to come back and be an extra. Even after my character was killed, I got to come to like the party scene and like peep me in the little pink wig. But just being able to like do little things like that and just be part of it in any way I could. Like soak it up for all that it was in all of its glory. I had to kiss another actor, and I felt really uncomfortable about it, and I was like really like not ready or prepared. I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it was just like something I was not prepared to do. I'm really weird with like anything touchy-feely in any production for some reason. I don't know. I just can't like get into it. And also, worst part, I was not prepared like for my long ass monstrous lines that were like, they were daunting. Like my first production once again, and just looking at these fucking things like, you want me to what? Okay, like I'm a fucking space cadet. Like I'm terrible with memorization. I do the best I can, but I'm not great at it, and it sucks, and I have to really try, where I feel like there's those crazy talented actors and actresses that I did work with that would like read it once and be like, all right, let's get into it. And I'm like, wait, dude, I don't even have like the second sentence of this line. It was a disaster for me. I had the scene where we were at the high school, and it's like the opening scene where I think you first see my character, I'm not sure. And we had a very limited time frame on this, so we already had to come in like guns blazing, like being able to like read our lines, go for it, give it your all, like you better already know this shit. So it was fucking intimidating. I think that might have been like my first scene I'd ever done in this entire Stab Productions. So it was scary. It was like a fucking big jump into the deep end. This production of Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter was shut down, unfortunately, because of locations and actors dropping out. It was really sad. Like my death scene, you know. It's just unfortunate because we did have a long way to go with it. And when you have that big of a cast, it's really hard to stay on top of every individual actor. The Stab films, there's multiple people. There's multiple, like, there's anywhere from freaking like 40 to 50, I don't know how many people. So to keep on top of that many people and make sure that they're still committed through like months when locations are dropping out, when maybe they took on too big of a commitment they didn't realize that they would be able to uphold, things like that, it's challenging. Some people aren't, don't want to be actors, don't want to be actresses, they're just doing this to have fun, which is understandable. They don't realize the commitment they're taking on, but it's so much fun. Like, I would recommend anyone jumping into a Stab production, just be dedicated, just like, because there's a lot of people that are, and they really care about this. I think it was really funny in Rob and I's scene that I had to like back off a little bit because I was like laughing a little bit too hard. But when there's one point where he says like, why don't I go upstairs and give Sarah a little lovin' then? And he like humps the freaking counter. Like, the way he does it is so fucking funny. And if you did not catch that, go watch it again because it is pretty great. And he just did it. Like, he just added that himself. Bree and Pat at the party scene, those two got off the handle, little drink so much, and then when it came for their scene, for their like sex scene, that was a struggle and a half, and it was the fucking funniest thing. Like, trying to get these two to like have this like kind of sex scene, but it was kind of perfect because it loosened them up to like be able to do that. Like, I would need that because it just makes me really uncomfortable. So it was just really funny to see them like trying to do these lines and getting through like just a couple words and then having to reel them back in, and then that scene was just funny to film. It was so much fun. That party scene was like, it was atrocious, okay? Like, we had, 10 people at a party? Come on, people. You know how many people I texted to? Like, I did text them last minute, but I was like, hey guys, like, come to a party at the freaking library. It was like at a library that we had been able to like get on loan or something. Josh had spoken to them or something. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun, honestly. Like, why not? Like, you're just gonna be standing in the background drinking. Just don't get in the shot the way you shouldn't and you're fine. And don't be loud. And like, drink. And be on camera drinking. Whatever. Fuck it. Have fun. It's a shame when that stuff doesn't work out. Working with Josh has been a pleasure. He is an incredible genius. He is very, very passionate. He can be intense. He knows how to crack the whip. And I totally appreciate that because I can lose focus, just like this interview because I'm rambling. But yeah, working with everyone, like Stab 7, Night of the Hunter, I had some really good friends, like Layla, Grace. They were like my two really good friends that I worked with. Josh, obviously, he's awesome. He's a brilliant man. But yeah, I've had so much fun and it's been really magical, and there's so many different ways to describe it, but yeah, it's been real. It's been great.
My name is Anthony Rainville, and I played Kellen Rice. Definitely a really informative experience for me. Josh was nice enough to cast me in his movie. I learned a lot about how to not play a character and how to play a character. I was definitely bummed out that the film wasn't finished, as you know, obviously you want to see your work completed. Otherwise, like, it was definitely a cool experience. I got to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. I met one of my good friends, Ryan, on the set. Him and I are still good friends to this day.
Not only did we lose Stephanie in Stab 7, but we also lost Mandy. Mandy was another one that, well, while we were trying to film, shit just kept happening. And every time we were supposed to film one of her scenes, she would be ready to show up, and then shit would happen either to her or to us. So that is another huge contributing factor into why Knife of the Hunter didn't come out, is because we weren't able to continue to have our lead actresses, not just one, but multiples. So, and it's just sad too, because a lot of what we filmed was the in-betweener shit, so we didn't get to a lot of the fun stuff, like all the death scenes and stuff, and those are like challenging to film, but they are super, super, super fun to film. So that's my biggest regret, is that we didn't get to film more death scenes, because I think even releasing the movie with more of the death scenes would have made the fans a little bit happier, because they would have got a little more Ghostface, they would have got more blood, and then you can kind of understand the storyline. But like I said, we couldn't even film the ending on this one, so again, one of the reasons we should always remember to film the ending first. Lots of great new characters in Stab 7, lots of different setups and locations. We showed you way more of Manchester than you've ever seen, that the town that all these movies are based in, so that was really cool to get to explore that finally, and to show you some of Manchester, New Hampshire, because it looks like we live in East Bumfuck in the first couple of movies, because you see like 2 houses and trees. And then finally you get the expansion in the Stab 7s, that you get to see a lot more of like the cities and the cityscapes and the surrounding towns and areas and stuff like that. So that was really cool to get to work in, and not something that we had thought about even until this production. So that was neat. Once all is said and done, I think what we do with the next version of Stab 7 is even better. So maybe there really was a reason that Stab 7 Knife of the Hunter was never finished, because it just wasn't good enough for us to release to our fans.